This interview is a part of the Oklahoma Historical Society's Oral History Program Living Legends collection. This interview was originally conducted on May the 7th, 1971. The interviewer is not identified on this tape. The interviewee is Mrs. Charlotte Mays Saunders of Tahlequah, Oklahoma. This interview is being re-recorded on July the 18th, 1985 for inclusion in the permanent collections of the Oral History Program by Judith Michener.
I don't hear very good.
This is an interview with Mrs. Charlotte Mays Sanders at Tahlequah, Oklahoma on May the 7th, 1971. Mrs. Sanders, first of all, we'd like to know a little bit of your background. Who were your parents and where they were from?
My father was Samuel Houston Mays, and my mother was Florence Nicodemus. And they lived at Pryor in Mays County. My father was born down where Armstrong Academy now stands when his parents were returning from Texas after the Civil War, where the Cherokees had gone. And they camped for the winter there, and he was born, and then moved on into into Indian Territory later. My mother was born here. She was a very small part Cherokee, but she was educated here in Tahlequah, and they married and moved up into Mays County. And when I was born near Locust Grove in 1892, May the 5th. My father was a rancher, and we had no schools up in the area where we lived. There was one school 7 miles away, and my mother taught us at home until I was in the 4th grade. And she was getting pretty worried because I couldn't start to school someplace. So there was a public school about 7 miles from home, and she finally talked my father into taking me each morning and go back in the afternoon horseback. And about that time, before I got started, lightning struck the school, burned it down, so there was again. Anyway, she decided to send me to the female seminary. My father said, no, she's too young. I was 14 when I finished the 5th grade. And but she didn't pay much attention to him. She went ahead and got me ready to come, and they had a few little arguments about. He said I'd get homesick and want to come home, but anyway, she won out in that debate, and I was sent down in September of 1906. And my mother told me the last thing when we started. She said, "Now, you're going to get homesick." I'd never been away from home, but any place except to my grandmother's. And she said, "Don't you write back and say anything about it. If you do, your daddy will come at you, and you never will get to go, and you've got to go to school." Said, "Now, don't say a word about it." And sure enough, I did, but I never said a word. So I went on and stayed and went to the seminary then for 4 years, 3 years and a half.
When you were a student from 1906 until 1909 or 1909, what were some of the courses you were enrolled in?
Well, I was only in I began the 6th grade, and I went right on through. And then in that 3.5 years, I was just ready for high school when the seminary closed in 1909 in June. Then we went home for the summer, and the next September we were supposed to come back to the male seminary where the girls and boys both were going. But my parents were very much opposed to mixed schools, so they thought we should stay home and try to go get an education some other way rather than go. So we went to Pryor High School, driving a one-horse buggy 10 miles with no roads. Anyway, it was a bad deal. So at Christmas time, they decided maybe it would be safer in a mixed school than trying to go to school that way. So we came down to the what used to be the male seminary, where the girls and boys were both going.
What was it like on Easter morning in 1910 when it burned down? Do you recall what was happening?
The day the male seminary burned, it's been mistaken by a lot of people saying it was Easter morning, and it was not. It was the Sunday before Easter,
Sunday before.
March the 20th, and Easter that year was March the 27th. That morning it was real warm and windy, and nobody wanted to come to church. Everybody was trying to find an excuse to stay at home. The teachers were just swamped with people wanting to stay. But no, so we got ready to come and came on to church. And I was at the little Methodist church in Tahlequah. So Bob Walker, that lived here in town, was a day student, and he was at home for the weekend. And he saw the male seminary burning, and he jumped up in the church door and said, "The male seminary is burning." Well, in just a very few minutes, there was no one left in the church but the minister and the old folks. The rest of us had gone to the fire. And I was the first girl back out to the building. We walked. It was a mile and a half.
What were your first thoughts? What were your thoughts that were running through your head at this time? Did you have very many clothes inside the building as it was burning? I mean, were you standing there in your only suit of clothes?
As I said, the next Sunday was Easter. Our parents, my mother had sent us our Easter clothes. We could have new clothes for Easter. And we pressed them and hung them in the closet for next Sunday. So they all burned.
So they all went
Nothing was saved. And there were 40 boys had new suits for next Sunday, and they all burned. And I was especially anxious to get back out to the burning building because my sister did stay there that day, and she was going to go to sleep. She wasn't feeling very well. And that was why I wanted to get back out there. But so I was the first girl. I ran all the way. And just before I got there, Jake Overscales had caught a ride. Somebody had picked him up in a buggy and took him up to the building, and he knew I would be worried about my sister. So he came back down the road to meet me and told me that they were all right.
Well, that was sure nice. And nobody got hurt in the
No
fire?
one,
Everybody got out?
no one was hurt, but there were 3 little girls, the Mrs. Walkinsticks, the dining room matron's little girls, and another little girl were there, and they couldn't be found anyplace. So no one knew until about noon the next day. They were found in a cornfield out near Park Hill, had spent the night.
Oh. So they just snuck out of school, huh?
Well, no, it was Sunday, you know, and they were excited about the fire, so they just ran out. They just
ran
got
away,
excited and stayed all night out in the open, but they were in good condition when they found them.
Well, that was sure nice. What were some of your courses? What did you take in the old male seminary?
Well, I was 9th grade, and I don't remember exactly, but we just took the regular 9th grade studies. But we did have a stiff course of study in both schools.
Were the rules for students very strict? Like you get up at a certain hour?
Oh,
and
sure.
just regimented the whole day?
Everything was detailed and very strict system. We had our duties and our obligations, and if we didn't do them, it was just too bad. But the teachers were awfully understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And at the female seminary, there were some girls that didn't pay their $5 a month for room and board and laundry and school supplies and hospitalization. So they worked in the kitchen. But the rest of us, the boarders we were called, that paid the $5, had to sweep the halls and keep the schoolrooms clean.
Oh, so on top of paying, you had to work a little bit, huh?
On Saturday morning, we got our assignment for the week. And over at the female seminary, everybody wanted to take care of the library and the parlor.
what did you do? Did you have much spare time during the week, or was it just on the weekend, or did you have any spare time at all?
The only spare time we had was Saturday night.
Saturday night.
We had Saturday night for our own, and usually we had to take a bath. But I remember one Saturday night, there were 6 girls from Grove. A little girl by the name of Nancy Woodall played the mandolin and sang. So it was a treat to go to their room. So this Saturday night, they roomed in number 26. A whole bunch of us were in there, and lights were out at 9 on Saturday night. So when the lights were out, we just stayed in there. And the teacher on that North Hall, as they called it, was Belle Cunningham, later Mrs. Tom Graham, Dr. Tom Graham. So she knew we were in there, so pretty soon she came down. She said, "All right, girls, the ones that don't belong in there, come out." Well, me and 2 others went under the bed in place of coming out. So she proceeded to go back to her room and get a chair. She came back and sat down right outside the door. She sat there, and nobody moved. Pretty soon she disappeared again, and she went back, got a flashlight. Then she flushed us all out. And I was the only one in there from 3rd floor, and she said, "Now you go back up on your own floor, and when we need you, we'll send for you."
Did you have many picnics with the boys at the male seminary and
Oh,
dances or social meetings? Or
Oh,
any
no, we
kind?
didn't have anything. The high school girls had some privileges, but they usually came over and drilled for us. They had quite a little drilling going on, military.
Yeah.
They'd come over and drill, then we'd have a little reception. But we didn't have not too much social life, and especially in the grades.
Uh-huh.
High school students had a little bit more privilege.
Mm-hmm. Where did they get most of the meals? Like today, we go run over to the cafeteria and complain about the food. Where were your meals gotten at?
The meals were served from the kitchen, and we ate it or did without.
Ate it or did without, huh? Did many of the students have the privilege to go downtown and eat, or did most of them stay on campus?
Now, the boys could go to town without a chaperone, but at the female seminary, or the male seminary too, the girls could not. Every 2 weeks we went on a shopping tour if we had anything to buy and had any money to buy it with.
What unusual things would happen on campus? Like, did you have very many visitors that you recall that gave speeches or any?
We just didn't have anything but routine, and that was schoolwork and taking care of ourselves, and about all the things that we had was instructions from our instructors, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. How many teachers can you remember that you were under, and about what did they teach, if you can recall what they were?
Well, as I say, I was in the grades, and I was freshman at the male seminary, but I just was there about 3 months.
Yeah.
But at the female seminary, we just had a regular course of study that we followed, English and math, and that was in the grades. And we had assembly. Every morning we had chapel, and we'd have scripture and a prayer by one of the teachers, and then we'd pass to our schoolrooms for the day. Then every night we had study hall, and then every Sunday afternoon we had quiet hour from 1 through 2, and we scarcely could whisper. We were supposed to be in our rooms writing letters home.
Uh-huh. I remember in a recollection I was reading by, I forgot the lady's name, it's in my paper, but she recalled that during study hours they would heat the lead on their pencils and curl their hair with it. She said a lot of times they'd brand their forehead.
That's right.
Did you get branded very
No,
often?
I was down the grades. I didn't get it on those high school girls things, the older girls. Of course, the girls were around 22 when they finished high school. See, everybody was so much slower than what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was your room like? You say you were a boarder there and you paid your room and board. How big was your room, and what did you have, Cherokee Female Seminary plastered on the wall like they do today with the little pennants, you know, and things?
No, we had inspection every morning at 8 o'clock. And very often, it was a surprise why our lady would come with white gloves on. And she'd go under our beds were real high, but she'd put her white gloves around on the floor and on the washstands and on the walls. And they better be just as clean when she got through as when she started. No, we had to keep our rooms definitely and our clothing up. We had to do those things.
Mm-hmm. Did you wear uniforms like they do at some academies today, or did you wear your own, make your own clothes and wear those?
We wore a blue serge suit with a midi, and we wore the square caps that the colleges wear now.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to wear those when we went out, but around in the building and to school, we could wear about what we chose.
What's probably the most outstanding thing you can remember from your life at the seminary? If you had to, just boil it all down to one event. Now, this doesn't have to be anything, just what do you remember most of all about your life at the seminary?
I think the main thing that we all look forward to was the 7th of May picnic that the boys and girls both go to. That was commemorating the beginning of the schools, And we always went to the river, to Walking Stick Springs. And we took a load of food. The Male Seminary had a wagon and a mule team. And they'd load their food and come by and get ours. And we all walked.
You walked all the way? That's
walked
what, 4 miles, isn't it?
Everybody walked, up 3.5. Everybody walked. We just that was really a time of our lives. And we scattered around over the hills and around the river all day, but we all had to start back at the same time.
Was there a road out to Walking Stick Springs?
Just a very
just
little
a little trail.
A wagon road and a trail down to it.
Walking Stick Springs, that's out just this side of the river, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And right there, the springs, the little wood.
Just around the curve.
I know where it is.
But that was a wonderful place. We all had a lot of fun there. And good food, just have a picnic right.
What kind of games did you play during the day?
Oh, we didn't play much games. We really didn't at the female seminary, but at the male seminary, we all had some games that were played down in the corner of the yard, down on the northwest corner. Oh, things like, we had a game we called Cat and the Mouse. Teachers would always play with us. We'd go down 1 hour after supper. Everybody would run and have a good time.
What kind of athletic events can you remember that happened while you were a student at the female seminary?
Basketball for the high school students. I didn't participate. And the male seminary had football, baseball.
Were the girls from the seminary, the female seminary, were they allowed to go to watch the boys play football?
I think some of the high school girls often would go and with chaperones.
Right. Always have to have the chaperone.
About 2 to 1 girl.
Can you remember any big event in Tahlequah, for instance, like today we would say a circus coming to town, big event. What big event can you remember happening in Tahlequah, if you can remember any?
Well, I'll tell you, we just didn't ever go to town. We went to church on Sunday. We had to sign up when we entered school. We had to sign up for the church that we wanted to go to. We had Sunday school at the building. And then every Sunday morning we went to church. And we went to the same church where we signed up to go,
Were there any hangings downtown that you can remember?
Well, not after I came here.
Yeah.
See, I came in 1906, and those things were done away with about, 2-3 years before I came
2 years
here.
before there.
And, well, maybe farther than that. But I don't remember anything like that. They had some killings, but it was just murder.
Yeah, just outright.
Yeah.
What can you relate to us about any hangings you heard about that happened in Tahlequah, or do you know anybody that's related to it?
Well, my grandfather, George Washington Mays, was High Sheriff of the entire Cherokee Nation. Oh, I would say he was for 2 terms. I guess it'd be 8 years. But it was back before those days, and he hanged quite a few people. And one time I remember, I didn't witness it, but I remember it being talked about, and the other relatives have told me that when he hanged 3 men, 2 of them were relatives. I don't know just what, but they were related to the family.
Mm-hmm. Being as Tahlequah is the capital of the Cherokee Nation, do you recall any inaugurations of a chief of the Cherokee Nation?
Well, no, I don't, not after 1906. And before that, I wasn't here.
Right.
Except one time I was here in 1904. I came down to a graduation at the Mayo Seminary when my uncle graduated.
When you say you were in what, the 9th grade? Did they have a graduation ceremony for y'all graduating from there, or was just the high school? The only
it
ones
was
that they graduated?
just the high school had the graduation, and graduation day was really a day.
What was it like?
Well, they girls dressed up pretty, and they usually had they had a week of graduation. They'd have baccalaureate Sunday, and then from then on they would carry on with class day and just different things for 3-4 days.
4 different days.
Mm-hmm. And then the final night they would get their diplomas.
Uh-huh. I imagine there was quite a bit of excitement. Did many people come to the graduation?
We had pretty good, depending on the size of the class.
Mm-hmm.
Their families would all come.
Uh-huh. Did in the Cherokee Female Seminary, did the girls live at different ends of the seminary hall? It is called today. Were they boarded in the building?
The senior girls, I believe it was the juniors and the seniors, lived on front hall. That's that front down second floor.
Mm-hmm.
That was called front hall, and that's where the seniors had those rooms. Then on the 3rd floor, just everybody just roomed wherever they were assigned.
Mm-hmm. Just assigned different rooms. Uh-huh. What was downtown Tahlequah like? Were there very many stores and ice cream parlors or whatever downtown?
There was a hardware store, Fred Palmatag, and Lawrence and Wyler's, and Richard and McSpadden's clothing stores. Well, there were general stores. Then there was Humphrey's, and we didn't have many ice cream parlors and such as that. We had one. We didn't get to go to shows. I think there was one little show here called the Jam, about the last year maybe of the seminary, but nobody ever went.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had, I guess that was about extent, and there was no pavement and no sidewalk, except there was a boardwalk from the seminary entrance to downtown, and then it skipped, and it was just the dirt walks till it got to the Opera House, and then there was a boardwalk from the Opera House on the corner of Choctaw and Muskogee, and then to the depot there was a boardwalk.
Mm-hmm. That's up on top of the hill, right, where Depot Hill is.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Opera House. What went on in there? Did they
we had,
come in?
yeah, there was that was about the best thing in town, and the seminary gave quite a few Shakespearean plays,
Mm-hmm.
and we gave all of our plays down there.
Hmm.
In the Mayo Seminary, they had quite a few oratorical contests, and they were carried on at the Opera House.
Uh-huh. Where was the Opera House located at? What was the address of it? Which corner?
It was on the corner of Choctaw and Muskogee,
Muskogee. Uh-huh.
where the DX station is.
Yes, right. What advice would you pass on to, like seniors, say for instance myself, graduating today? What would you say to look out for in life, so to speak? Anything that would enlighten anybody?
Well, I'm afraid I belong to the old school. I'm afraid I'd want to give too much advice.
Well, what would you say? What would you?
Oh, Oh, I don't know. I would advise that the young people return more to the religious standards.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they have lost all. I don't know what you would say, but they seem that that's secondary with most of the young people now, and it just won't work.
What do you think is the main cause of this turn from religion? The overpopulation, or just the fast way people live now?
Oh, I think that there's a lot of things to do to take the place of it. And another thing, I think that a good many parents have gotten negligent. They don't go. And if they don't go, they can't expect the children to. Parents have to go along with them, and that is what all I would say.
Well, Mrs. Sanders, it's really been a pleasure and a privilege to visit with you today. And even though I've known you for quite some time, you really, I'd like to get to hear some more stories further on later down the line sometime.
Well,
And
I have a lot of little old things that I think of them, but I have such a, I don't know, I just remember all of them.
Is there anything else that you can, thinking back over our conversation, that you can recall that maybe you didn't think of at the time?
Oh, no, nothing that, there's a lot of things, but I mean, nothing of any great importance to this. I'll tell you some more sometime.
Okay. Well, on behalf of Oklahoma Christian College and the future of the Cherokee National Library and our living legends, we want to thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, sir.